Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast, brought to you by the Wealthy Speaker School. This is the podcast dedicated to people who want to speak more as a way to build their income and grow their business. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. I'm your host, Jane Atkinson. And today we are doing another special episode with the great calmer downer, my economist. And you'll have to introduce yourself, Andrew, to let us know exactly what your credentials are. I tell everybody you're my smart economist friend, and I don't know if that's actually right or not. Maybe you could tell everybody what it is that you do. And then I would like to do just a very brief update to a podcast that we did a few weeks ago about coronavirus. And we're going to slip this one in and fast track it in just to get people some more up-to-date news. Today is March 19th, and I want everybody to just get a little bit of an update from you. First, tell everybody what it is that I should actually be calling you.
Sure. So I'm an economist and a keynote speaker, and
okay.
I
got it
talk
right.
about the intersection of the markets and the economy, and all the things that influence that. And there's a lot of things that go into that.
Yeah.
But that's really what it is. So, and of course, what I really try to do is not only explain what's happening now, but I give people a glimpse into the future,
right?
So they can make better decisions about their business. So that's what we're all shooting for,
right? And you say the markets and economy, but also politics is a big part of the work that you do. And so, what has been going on so far? Our first, and I don't remember the date that we recorded the first one. I don't believe. Had there been a declaration of that this was a national crisis? I can't remember where we were in terms
a national
of
emergency.
A national emergency.
It's hard to remember.
I think they maybe had just declared a national emergency, but we obviously weren't as far along. But talk about, in terms of the news briefing that happened this morning, what is the state of affairs in terms of coronavirus and the economy today, according to the great calmer down here, Andrew Busch?
Right. So it's a fast-moving virus, clearly, and there's a lot of news around this. Now, what I would say is this. The number of cases are growing rapidly. I mean, rapidly. I mean, if you think about it, a week ago, the United States had less than 700, and we're approaching, and I'll have to look it up, I think we're at 9,000. So as an example, and just a little bit of help for everybody, if you want to know the best source for that, it's Johns Hopkins. And you can just type in Johns Hopkins coronavirus map. And that will show you where it is around the world.
Okay.
And they get the best updates from all of the different countries. Okay. So where are we at? Well, the best news I can tell you right now is that from WHO's website, the World Health Organization, that China just announced the first day without a new infection. Now, that's really critical. So they're the majority of all the infections. So if the world has 230,000 infections, China's got 81,000 of those.
Right.
So that's good news as far as what China can do. Now, the United States, I stand corrected, is now at 10,700. I mean, it actually jumped 1,000 from this morning. And there's a reason for that with the U.S. is because, as I've been telling clients all week long, and you can go to my YouTube channel, I put out YouTube videos almost every other day. But what I've been saying is like, look, this week's critical because we're going to get all of those test kits out and the testing centers up and running.
And the numbers are going to go up crazy. Yes. The only reason the numbers weren't crazy before is because they didn't have the tests to say.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's been part of the problem. So it's starting to expand exponentially, geometrically, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so this week is particularly going to be distressing for a lot of people as you see those numbers grow. But I will tell you, that is part of the process of stamping it out. You have to know where it is before you can really make an effort to stop it. So that's that's disturbing. So that's going to be tough. But there's
Yes.
some good news that's coming. The therapeutics that they've been working on, in other words, how to treat it, they're going to be getting better. They're already trying some new things. That's what President Trump came out with today. There's going to be rapid advancements in this. And just taking a step back, yes, this is going to create a massive hole in the global economy. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
And it will be really bad for a quarter in the United States at least, and other countries as well. But what I'll say is it's really a function of how well we get this virus under control and how people start to adapt to it. And Jane, as you know, I'm an optimist, and I see a lot of good things coming from this, from the very bad times. And there's a lot of unemployment that's going to happen, and I don't want to dismiss that. And there's a lot of people that are going to die. That is horrific. But I am optimistic in the sense that we are an amazing adaptive species, and we find a way to get through things. And the history of infectious diseases is that we come up with new treatments, we come up with new ways of dealing with things. And I think the economy is going to snap back. It's not going to happen right away, but by the end of the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, we should be a long way through this. And I know that doesn't help people now, but I will tell you, it's interesting to see how the speaking business is evolving right now.
Yeah.
And what's going on that. I know you want to ask me about that, but
let's switch. Let's
upbeat about this.
That's really good. And so what we're looking for right now, we're on our way up the curve, and we want to see the curve get flattened and then go all the way down, like we have seen China done. So China has done it. There are models, and we are trying to follow them, although I'm pretty sure we saw something on the news the other night of people being welded inside their homes. It's like, that doesn't seem safe.
No.
China was taking some pretty strong measures to make sure people stayed at home. I don't know that we're going to be doing that.
Wait, before you go on, can I just say, and this is, so I wrote that book in World Event Trading. The first 5 chapters were on infectious diseases. And here's the thing that I learned. This is really consistent. Disease outbreak is consistent throughout history.
Right.
Let me just give you an example from the Black Plague, to your point of what you just said about welding people in their houses.
Yeah.
They used to brick people up inside their homes.
Oh my gosh.
Disease.
Yeah.
So it's astonishing that this is still going on today.
We've taken a dark turn in our conversation here today.
Crazy.
Okay, so
it's just so to me, I think you had a great point about bending the curve, flattening the curve down as far as the infections go. Instead of having a massive spike, which overwhelms every healthcare system in the world, we're hoping to flatten that and get help. And help is coming.
Yeah. Okay. So, the speaking industry, you have been doing a lot of outreach to speakers bureaus, which normally I wouldn't necessarily recommend that my clients do, because they don't want to hear from you right now unless you can help them some way. Right. And you indeed can help them. They are sending out your videos to their clients and saying, okay, here's what we're predicting for the future. And I think that that's very helpful for people. And I think people should tune in and follow your YouTube channel. So tell me what you're hearing from speakers bureaus who I know, and my hearts go out to them, having worked in a bureau before. I know that this situation is rough. They are probably feeling it beyond, because they're not just dealing with one speaker. They're dealing with hundreds and thousands of speakers and cancellations. So talk about what you've found.
Yeah, so this is an existential crisis, meaning you could die, right? So there's that. For the speaking business, it's the same kind of thing. As an example, in Illinois, in New York, in California, in the state of Washington, they've banned going to bars and restaurants. They've banned, in the United States, they didn't ban. The CDC recommended no people get together larger than 10.
Yeah.
Hard to have a conference when you can't get together more than 10. So, of course, there's tons of cancellations that are happening.
Yeah.
The speaker bureaus and the agents I've spoken to, they are, for the most part, their contracts are written so that the speech, they can postpone it, but it is going to need to be rebooked in 12 months.
Right.
And most are talking about that. They're not outright cancellations, but they're postponing to another time frame where people can get together again.
Right.
So they're just buried trying to reorganize things to accumulate and deal with that. So they generally don't want to hear from anybody unless you're going to help them.
Right.
So I think that was a great point. But what I am hearing is that, there's, for each individual agent, depending on the size of the company that they work for, it can be anywhere between 40 to 60 people, speeches that are getting canceled.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that as well. But I will also tell you that some of my clients still want to do and have a speech happen on the day it happens and do it virtually.
Right.
And I think that's fantastic. Let's do that.
And some people may even say, let's go at it with full fee, and we're just going to pay you as we were going to pay you. And I did a webinar yesterday with David Newman and several other very smart people. Now, they were really wanting people to charge full fee for their events, even if they were virtual. And I just have I think that the expectation of the client is going to be that it's going to be less. Talk about what you had heard from bureaus that they were hoping that the pricing would be. Bureaus would like to keep all the money, by the way.
Right.
Bureaus want to make the biggest fee work because then they get the biggest commission. When they lower it, it's not in their favor. So what were they thinking that clients would expect? You told me some percentage off.
Yeah, so there's a range of options. There are some clients that will do the full fee, and that's great.
Right.
And that's really for events that have already been booked. For new bookings and that are going to be done virtually, my belief, and from talking with several different bureaus, is the starting point is your is like your home fee,
your local fee.
You live.
Sleep in your own bed fee, let's call that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and so that whatever that rate is for everybody. But then beyond that, I mean, there's discussion. It's a wide range of percentages. Some are talking 30%, some are talking 50% off.
Right.
And
so be prepared for that. Yeah.
So you're going to encounter that, but I think the starting point for everybody should be your home base fee.
Okay, that's cool. Gives people a bit of a guideline. Now, I want to commend, can we call out the Speakers Bureau who held a deposit for you, who just sent you the money? That does not happen very often. And I just want to say that, did they send you your full fee or the 50%?
Well, no, the arrangement was 50% up front.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they sent me, which is great.
Yeah.
And that's what I normally do for almost all of my clients that come to me directly. Speaker bureaus don't do that for the most part.
They don't. And that actually has me advising my clients differently about their Speakers Bureau direct ratio. Love the Speakers Bureaus, and they can be incredibly helpful when it comes to getting you out there in front of clients that are, just those Fortune 100 clients and the top national associations. They have all the best clients. There's no question. But when you allow your calendar to get 80% Speakers Bureau, that 80% of that chunk of business, you will now not have any deposits in for any of that money. And that is very hard on your cash flow in a situation like this. Now, the good news is, Andy, I think we're going to have a big backlog of things at the other end of this. Fourth quarter, I'm hoping this year, everybody's going to be scrambling to get speakers and venues, and it's going to be tight because things are already booked.
Yeah, and that's a potential. And I will tell you, to give people some hope, I'm still getting booked out into the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter right now. So I just had one yesterday, which is fantastic.
So a call came in yesterday, March 18th, and somebody was booking you into the future. So I want people to know that people still have to do their jobs. They're still planning meetings. There's still hope on the horizon here. We just have to be a little bit patient, I think, in terms of when the big turnaround comes. And do you think when the curve gets flattened that we're going to start seeing the phone ringing a lot more?
I think it'll take a little bit more than that.
Okay.
I think right now this is crisis mode.
Mm-hmm.
So people are, the speaker bureaus are trying to figure out how to rebook everything. the clients are trying to figure out, should they rebook everything? Will they have money to rebook something?
Right.
And that's what they're going to struggle with. I would say this time period is going to be the worst of it, as the uncertainty is there, and trying to understand the cash flows that they have, as everyone should be doing in their business at this point.
Let's
once
talk.
that stabilizes, then I think you'll see a shift.
Okay, let's talk real quick before we go about the industries that you think will remain not as affected. We know hospitality is going to be very, very rough. Even down to the restaurants and chains and things like that. But we talked earlier about some industries that we think will be still open for business, and maybe we'll get through the recession with less hardship than the others. You talked about agriculture as being one of those.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people still need to eat, right? And so the farmers are going to produce regardless.
Yep.
So I think the agriculture industry is going to remain vibrant. Anybody who produced toilet paper for a while looked really
Oh my
good.
gosh,
That's not
yes.
agriculture, but that's just
Yes.
craziness.
And some manufacturing, like a 3M, I mean, they're going to be, they're taking wartime measures now, and they're going to have other companies producing things too. So some manufacturing, maybe. You mentioned healthcare, pharmaceutical.
Yep.
IV,
Trucking, I think.
Trucking,
will
transportation.
Yeah.
And corporate in the technology space, we know that Zoom stocks are probably going through the roof right now. We're on Zoom right now. And here's a little side tip. If you're using Zoom, take your recordings to your local laptop rather than putting them on the cloud, because it's taking 2 and 3 days to get recordings from them right now because they're so backlogged.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the other thing, I'll just bring this up again from when we talked last time, is that, I'm spending a lot of time now projecting into the future what the world's going to look like, because that's what I do for my clients. And one of the things I see in the speaking business is it's going to evolve and change. There will be more speaking events and probably smaller events. And so the number will go up. And so I think actually, as things stabilize, because I think it's going to be hard for people to want to bring in massive amounts of people from all over the world to do something. It's going to be more domestically focused, but then smaller groups and maybe a lot more of them. So you may get a deal that's like to have 5 speeches to 50 people all across the country, or maybe even in the same spot. I don't know. But that's kind of where I'm thinking this is going to end up.
Well, that would be a good thing for the speaking industry. And I think that that's a good place for us to leave our update today. Any final words? There was something that happened that you had mentioned that brought the stocks kind of, what had happened in the last day or two that kind of stabilized the stock market?
Oh, well, one of the things, so, this is what I don't want to get too inside baseball, but there were a lot of really big names in finance that came out and said all these dire things.
Right.
And what happened was that over the last 24 hours, the stocks went down, but then they came right back. Now, I will tell you, as somebody who's studied the markets for a long time and someone who's a narrative economist, meaning I focus on the stories that the markets tell themselves.
Right.
This story about how bad things were, that had huge momentum and still does. But what you look for is changes that change that narrative, or how the market reacts when it should be going down even more and going down further, but it doesn't. And that's what happened over the last 24 hours. And that's why for the markets, I'm a little bit more upbeat about where I think it's going to go from here, because I think it's burned itself out just a little bit. When you have all these big names say bad things and nothing happens.
Yeah. Please let Andrew be right on this, because mama needs to get her investments back. Like, whoa, that is so frightening to look at those numbers. I need to stop looking at them, but I'm like some sort of glutton for punishment. Anyway, thank you very much. Andy Busch, the great calmer downer, is with us again. I appreciate you so much. And I'm excited that you're still getting calls in, even during this time of chaos in your speaking business. And if you've listened in, let us know. Leave us a comment. Thanks, Andy, for being here again. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, great to be with you, Jane.
And for those tuning in, we'll see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now, everyone. Hey, thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed our show, you'll want to come and visit us at the Wealthy Speaker School, where we provide a proven roadmap for building your dream business. Go to wealthyspeakerschool.com. And for show notes for today's podcast, head on over to speakerlauncher.com and click on podcast. I'll see you soon, Wealthy Speakers.